With that, we're going to open the public hearing. Ms. Mobley, has the city clerk's office received correspondence regarding this item?
Yes, we received 33 letters in opposition, and I had 3 more individuals drop off letters at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. Is this first one you said was not necessarily in opposition, though?
That's correct.
So then
That's
we
a
had
statement regarding waste management in general, and he's also here to speak tonight.
Okay, so that wasn't necessarily one of the 32, or was that
There's
considered?
33 plus that one.
Okay, 30. Okay, plus the 3 dropped off. Okay, and I do have some speakers here, and we'll begin with Carol Good, followed by Marcelino Quintara, and then Bernadine Ramsey.
Thank you. I'm Carol Good, 1750 California Avenue. I'm a property manager for Corona Cerrito Plaza. We have 28 businesses in there. They have asked me to come, the owners and the tenants, and represent them, that they are asking for you to consider not increasing that. The cost of doing business has been very, very high. If you will look over in Corona, all the empty commercial buildings that are here right now, we have a lot of vacancies right now in commercial. We have one vacancy now. We have another one trying to break its lease, and it's all because the cost of doing business has been so high for them, and these charges are charged back to the tenants and as CAM charges. So we are asking that you would take in consideration and not raise that for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Quintera?
I'm Marcelino Quintana. I've lived in Corona since 1975, and I'm retired. I'm on a fixed income, and every time I turn around, something's going up and up and up. And I kind of think about this. How much money are they making on the recycling? I mean, that should be up pretty high up in the money thing, and for them to keep going up and up, it's hard for a retired person to try to make ends meet. Even though the water's going up sky high too, and my bill's from $150 to $160 a month, which is a lot of money for me to be paying out. And I would suggest to vote no on this.
Thank you. Bernadine Ramsey, followed by Mr. Don Fuller.
Good evening. My name is Bernadine Ramsey. I live at 1960 Oakland Hills Drive in Corona. This whole process is really confusing to me, and when I dug into it, it seems a little ridiculous. And you talk about Proposition 218 that was passed in 1996. Most people aren't familiar with it, and probably most people here didn't even vote on it. But I'm in opposition, obviously, to this rate increase, and I think it's also astonishing to me that that the city, or was it the county of Riverside, that let out a 15-year contract to a disposal company. Typically, when you look at larger cities like in the city of Los Angeles, the contracts are only for a few years, maybe 5 years, 8 at the most with extensions. So, going out 15 years on this contract is kind of strange to me. But that said, in any event, also, I think the problem doesn't start at the local level. I realize that this does come out of Prop 18, and this comes out of the legislature, where we are required to have a majority of residents to voice their opposition to rate increases. And as Mark Mendel stated in an article that he put together for preparing the notices under Prop 218, he says that, of course, many, perhaps most of the recipients of these notices likely throw the notice in the recycling bin without giving the notices more than a passing glance. And so that's what happens. You know, you only got about 22% voter turnout in the last election, so how can we expect to get a majority of the household? I think what this council can do locally, since you sent all this paperwork, a lot of which was confusing, even for me when I opened this chart, it wasn't clear exactly what the rate increase was going to be, but you could include in that mailing, because you have the discretion to do it. You don't have to follow the template that they that was proposed by Mendel's organization, which was the League of the California Cities. But you could include a ballot in that so the people can return it. And at least they don't have to worry about sitting down, writing something, just fill out the name, the address, and, you know, whether they agree or disagree. And that would simplify it, I think, for the voters. Also, this council is given discretion, because obviously we don't have a majority represented here of the residences, but, and I quote, "If there is no majority protest, the legislative body may, but is not required, to adopt the fee." So I think when you look in marketing terms, on election terms, if one person speaks out, or if they get a letter from one person, that they're representing about 10,000 constituents. So let's see, that's 10, 20, 30,000 of us that have spoken up tonight. And we voted no, because Waste Management is the largest disposal company in North America, a $14 billion corporation that pays out hundreds of millions in dividends to its stockholders and tens of millions in claims for its crimes. So it has actually over 2,000 subsidiaries, and it owns 273 of its own landfills.
I need you to wrap up.
So I think that they can afford to roll over, shorten their dividends, and pass on the citizens of this city to impose any further rate increases.
Thank you, and thank you for educating yourself and us. Good references. Don Fuller, followed by Tracy Hodge.
Good evening. My name is Don Fuller. I live at 725 Huntley Drive. I sent the city clerk's office a letter which covered this. I think you've all received a copy of that. I don't know enough about these rate increase things to make a comment about that one way or the other. I do have a lot of confidence in the professional staff of the city to work through those contracts and do what's right. So I don't have any way to second guess that one way or the other. But what I have to talk about is a little bit tangential, which of course never stopped me before. But the thing is, I had a recent experience with Waste Management, which did not leave me exactly tickled pink. I wanted to get a dumpster, and I wanted to get the 20-yard unit that they advertise, but they don't offer it. So I had to take the 10-yard unit, which meant we had to double up on the load, and it cost me more to empty it out. And furthermore, the 10-yard unit that was delivered to my house was partially full of a bunch of tar, maybe 1,000 pounds or more full of tar. When I called up Waste Management and said I'd like to start with an empty one, I was told they would bring me an empty one, but that didn't show up. They took my credit card number for originally initiating the business, and I asked if that was going to be charged on my credit card, and I was told no, it wouldn't. It was just for identification on the paperwork and so forth. After the job was done, and I had to hire another dumpster to come and get the rest of the stuff off the driveway, so the whole thing cost me about $1,000. So then after it was all done, I got a bill in the mail for the whole kit and caboodle, and it said it was due upon receipt. So I wrote a check and sent in the check for $700 and some odd. And after I sent that in, I got a notice on my email that said my credit card had been charged for about $600 when I told it wasn't going to be. So I called them back up. We went through another conversation, and I got that taken off my credit card bill. So I don't have anything to say about this rate increase one way or the other. I don't know about that stuff. I'm sure that the professional staff here has done what's correct, but I think Waste Management does some kind of sloppy work. And I think that if they're going to advertise a 20-yard unit on the website, they ought to offer it. And I think that if somebody wants a dumpster in front of the house to put some stuff in, he has a right to start with an empty one. And I think if they tell him that they're going to weigh the stuff that's in there and not charge him for that, he has a right to expect that stuff to be weighed so he doesn't get charged for that, and he has some certainty that happens. And I think that if they tell him he's not going to get charged on his credit card, they ought not to charge him on his credit card. So maybe that sounds a little unreasonable to people, but shucks, call me a complainer. So that's all it is. We're all squared around. I'm not looking for a free deal. I was just looking for a square deal. That's all. So thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. I'm Tracy Hodge. I am here on behalf of Martin Associates Brokerage. I am a commercial property manager representing over 30 commercial accounts here that house waste management as our refuge vendor. And we are concerned with the rate hike, and especially with it being adjustable for over the next 5 years. March is not the ideal time frame to be changing any of the budgetary numbers, so March is not the ideal time for any rate increases. It would be somewhere closer to September for any type of change come January. That helps us fiscally with all of our properties, and I'm sure some of the other commercial management companies would probably appreciate that as well, especially when we're managing other owners' income. And the other concern that we have with waste management is we do have, I personally experience difficulties with the bins being changed out when they need to be, whether there's graffiti, broken tires. Those things affect our properties, and they're not often dealt with on a speedy fashion. Secondly, we have a huge influx of illegal dumping that happens in our properties on a regular basis, and we are the ones that get to pass that charge on back to our tenants when we get fined for that overfilling. And it's not a matter of our tenants doing it, it's the people in the community. And not only are we concerned with the rate increase, but as it pertains to even the violations and the overcharge fills. I would like to see if waste management is indeed the franchise relationship with the city, what is the city going to do for us commercial property management firms and owners to regulate this illegal dumping and try to get that under control? Ultimately, the cost increase, I'd like to see that not happen. I see waste management as a exclusive vendor in many cities, and on behalf of the owners I represent, I would like to see you guys not approve this. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the council on this item? Mr. Montez.
I believe Carolyn Anderson is here tonight, and I think it would be helpful if we had her come up and maybe gave her contact information, because it seems like there are some service issues, especially with businesses, and I think that can be resolved even if pricing can't. So, Carolyn?
Thank you, Your Honor, council members, and the Corona community. Waste management has been proudly serving the city of Corona for many years, and we understand it's difficult to have rate increases. Our costs have gone up, and we need to pass that on to the consumer who uses our product. It's a modest increase. We have no control over the Bureau of Labor and Statistics Consumer Price Index. That is the language that was built into the agreement. It's when you think about what our overhead costs, our trucks are now all alternative fuel vehicles that service the city of Corona. Each truck costs in excess of $350,000 each. They're expensive to maintain. Our drivers are well-paid, well-trained employees. We do make mistakes. We are human. We do make mistakes, and I'm here to help resolve any issues. And Mr. Fuller and any other customer that wishes to call me, my cell phone number is area code 626. The number is 831-0588. I'd also like to reach out to any property managers that, for example, the lady just spoke out, and commercial properties. There are ways to decrease your costs by implementing recycling. Recycling does cost less for collection than your trash service, and it will help the city meet their AB 341 regulations as well. So contact me Carolyn Correo, 626 is the area code for my cell phone. The number is 831-0588.